Good day, everyone. In our previous lecture, we have looked at how do we create the ground, the the cube, the reticle. What do you mean by the head and the eyes in VR, and so on. In our today's lecture, we'll understand one of the most important concepts in virtual reality experience, which is events. So understand events which are basically like triggers or which trigger actions. So for example, if you were to look too long towards a cube, the cube should change its color. Or if you were to look towards the ground, you should be able to walk or you should be able to teleport from one place to another. So the importance of cubes is a lot, especially for triggering actions. And today in our lecture, we are precisely going to look at how do we create events in our virtual reality experience. So let's look at that. So first we start by adding the event system, which is a part of the Google VR SDK to our entire scene. What I do is GVR event. So I just copy paste this event system into my scene. So this event system is basically the controlling factor for all the events that are occurring in my entire Google VR. Okay. Next, what I want to do is whenever I look at the cube or when my reticle enters the cube, the color should change. When my reticle leaves the cube, the color should change. So what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to create a function which defines the change in color. Second, I'm going to create the event system which basically triggers that events. First, it defines that the color should change or it should create a function in my script that the color should change and an event system which basically does that. So let us look at that in detail. So first I'll start by creating a component or creating a new script called as change. So over here you can see that a new script has been created. Now what I want to do is I want to edit the script. I click on edit script. So by default, when your script starts in Visual Studio, you have this void start and void update. So for our current scenario, for our current VR experience, we do not need the void start and void. So what we do is we delete all of this. But now what we do is we create a function called as red, which takes in the color of the cube and changes it to red or blue or any color. So let's start with that. So first we create a function. So public void red. Next, I want to get the material component. I want to get the material component of the cube. So the way I do that is get component renderer. So keep the syntax very carefully in mind. So you'll see that Visual Studio actually helps with your syntax also. That's one of the beauties I feel that Visual Studio has. So get component renderer dot material dot color gets the component color or gets the color of the component you're looking at, and it changes the color component to say red. So what this line actually means is it's getting the component of the color and it's changing the color component to red. Similarly, like the way I've written red, I'll write one more function defining blue. What I want to do is I want to write a function called as blue. And what I want to do is instead of red over here, I want to write a function blue. So I've written these two functions which basically take the component color and change it either into red or blue. Now let's get back to Unity. If I click on the script, you'll see the changes in the script happening over here. This is to verify that whatever changes that you have made in the Visual Studio are reflecting in Unity. Okay. So now again, I click back on my cube. Now what I want to do is I've created the script. Now I want to create an event trigger which will trigger that change in script. What I want to do is I want to do add component and event trigger. So when I add this event trigger, it asks me for a new event type. So for that, I'll click on add new event type and I will write pointer enter. So whenever my reticle enters the cube, it changes color. And that's what it means. So whenever I say pointer enter, currently it has no function. So it will say list is empty. So you see a small plus sign over here. I'll click on the plus sign. Okay. So now it says runtime only, it says none object or so. So now I want you to guys to look at it very carefully the way I'm doing it. What you do is you will drag and drop the script in this none object. So you'll see over here cube, which is added over here. And what happens is it will over here it will say when you say no function, it will give you an option of the change color VR1. In that you have defined the red and the blue. So what I want to do is I want to use the blue function. So what this essentially means is whenever the pointer or the reticle enters the cube, the color of the cube changes to blue. And I want to write another function where when the pointer exits, the color should change back to red. What I'm doing is I'm adding another event type saying pointer exit. You'll see a lot of different events are over here. So you should definitely look at all these events. I'm right now just using pointer enter and pointer exit. So I'm going to add a pointer exit. So now what I'm doing is now I want to select a function. I go back to change call VR1 and I select red because when I exit the pointer, I want the color to change back to red. Now let's look at it whether it's actually being implemented or so. So right now nothing is being implemented. Let's look at the reason why. So if you imagine your eyes, you are able to see because there are rays of light that are emitting from your eyes that are hitting your light. So similarly in Unity, there is something called as ray casting. So where your camera is emitting these rays of light, it is hitting an object and it's emitting or it's triggering an action. So right now, this rays of light or this ray casting is actually missing from your eyes. Basically, there is nothing emitted from the eyes or from your main camera over here. So how do we actually do that? So what I do is I go to the main camera and I go to add component. And then what I say is GVR physics. So keep in mind, I am adding a physics raycaster, not a graphic raycaster. So many students make this issue that it's a physics raycaster. So what it actually means that these are physical rays that are being emitted from your eyes or from your main camera, which are hitting the object. And when these rays hit the object, they are triggering an action. So they mean precisely this. So keep this in mind. I'm adding a GVR pointer physics raycaster to my object. Now I'm again saving my scene and now I'm playing my scene. So now whenever my pointer enters, you'll see there is a change in the color of the cube. And whenever it leaves, the color of the cube goes back to red. So this is precisely what is happening is the rays of light are emitting from my eyes. When these rays of light are emitting on the cube, the color of the cube changes. And when I look away from the cube, the color again changes. This is what precisely means. So what we learned two things in our today's lecture. We learned first is how to understand events, and second is how to understand raycasting. So these two concepts are very important. We'll be using them again and again throughout our different VR experiences. Thank you very much.